How can a song be more destructive than a sword? How can the memory of home crumble the will of the world's most formidable warrior? This is not a musical performance. This is a story of how nostalgia, when strategically unleashed, can become the ultimate weapon. It begins in the year 202 BC, trapped in the heart of Gaixia, where a king and his army face an invisible enemy. To the outside, the unstoppable forces of Han, led by the shrewd strategist Liu Bang. Having united the opposition, he saw his final obstacle, the legendary Xiang Yu, the hegemon king of Western Chu. His target was not just to defeat him, but to dismantle the very myth of his invincibility. Inside the encirclement, the proud but exhausted remnants of the Chu army. They knew the end was near. They were surrounded, outmaneuvered. A direct escape seemed impossible. Their enemy's genius lay not in matching Xiang Yu's bravery, but in outthinking him. They had to find a way to turn the Chu army's greatest strength, their deep loyalty and shared identity, into a fatal trap. This is the origin of one of history's most masterful applications of psychological warfare, an idiom born from the melodies of that night. miàn, when the sounds of your enemy's homeland surround you from all sides. How did the songs of home become the funeral dirge for a kingdom? This is the story of the Siege of Gaixia, where the battlefield was not the ground but the human heart. miàn. On one side stood Xiang Yu, a warrior king who believed his personal might could decide any battle. His legend was built on breathtaking charges and unmatched valor. But now, trapped within the tightening ring of steel, that very strength seemed useless. He paced in his tent, a tiger in a cage, relying on the loyalty that had always been his shield. On the other side, calculating from a safe distance, was Liu Bang. He was not a peerless fighter, but a master of perception and influence. He understood that to defeat a godlike figure, you must first make him mortal in the eyes of his followers. A direct assault would be costly and uncertain. The true path to victory lay in crafting a weapon that could bypass armor and strike directly at the soul. The stage was set not for a clash of swords, but for a clash of philosophies. Raw, indomitable courage versus subtle, psychological cunning. The Han army had built the physical walls, but now they needed to build a prison in the mind of every Chu soldier. The question was no longer if the Chu army would break, but how Liu Bang would orchestrate its internal collapse. The answer, he conceived, was not to sharpen more blades, but to weaponize the deepest memories of his enemy. The genius of Liu Bang's strategy lay in its cruel elegance. He would not attack their bodies, but their spirit. Under the cover of darkness, a different kind of soldier was being prepared at the front lines. These were not the Empire's finest warriors, but its most convincing performers. Their weapons were not swords and spears, but the familiar melodies of the Chu region, the very songs every soldier had grown up with, the lullabies that spoke of home, family, and a peace they had not known for years. This was a deliberate, calculated act of psychological warfare. The plan was to make the Chu soldiers believe, in the deepest core of their being, that their homeland had already fallen. Why else would the sounds of their own people be coming from the enemy's camp? The music was designed to sow a devastating seed of doubt, that they were not merely surrounded but utterly abandoned, that they were the last remnants of a lost cause, fighting for a kingdom that no longer existed. As the final preparations were made, the cold night air hung heavy with an unsettling quiet, broken only by the whispered rehearsals of a haunting chorus. The stage for the final act was set. The physical trap had been closed for days. Now the psychological one was about to be sprung. It began as a whisper on the wind, a faint, almost imperceptible melody that tugged at the edge of memory. Then another voice joined, and another, until the entire night was filled with a haunting, unified chorus. It was the sound of home. For the trapped Chu soldiers, jolted from their restless sleep, this was not music. It was a declaration of their own annihilation. The songs of their wives, their mothers, their villages were now echoing from the throats of their enemies. Confusion turned to devastating certainty. If the Han soldiers knew these intimate songs so well, it could only mean one thing. Their beloved Chu had already been conquered. Their homes were gone, their families lost. Why were they dying here for a kingdom that no longer existed? The walls of their mental prison, meticulously built by Liu Bang, slammed shut in that moment. The courage that had held them together shattered, replaced by an all-consuming, contagious despair. Panic erupted. Men wept openly. clutching their weapons not with resolve but with the hollow realization that they had nothing left to fight for. The invisible army of fear, conjured by the voices in the night, had achieved what thousands of swords could not. It had broken the spirit of the unbeatable Chu army. Miàn Chu. Inside his tent, Xiang Yu heard the chaos. The songs of Chu, the sounds of his own home, had become the death knell for his army's will to fight. In that moment, the hegemon king understood the terrifying genius of his enemy. This was a defeat unlike any other, not on the battlefield but in the hearts of his men. Consumed by a storm of fury and despair, he made his final decision, a desperate charge to break through the enemy lines. What followed was a whirlwind of heroic yet futile violence. With his remaining loyalists, Xiang Yu became a demon of war, cutting a bloody path through the Han ranks. But for every 10 he struck down, 100 more seemed to appear. It was a hopeless struggle against the inevitable. He fought his way to the banks of the Wu River, a place etched into history as the end of his road. With the cold waters before him and the sounds of pursuing enemies behind, the great warrior faced his ultimate choice. He had fought his entire life for honor and glory. To cross the river and live to fight another day felt like cowardice. To surrender was unthinkable. In his mind, there remained only one path that befitted a king. His legend would end here, not with a whisper, but with a final defiant act that would seal his status as a tragic hero for all time. The Battle of Gaixia ended, and with it the era of the hegemon king. But the strategy that decided its outcome would live on, far beyond that one night. Miàn Chu became more than a historical account. It became a permanent part of the language, a powerful reminder that the most formidable fortress is the human mind, and that its walls can be scaled with memories as easily as they can be breached by force. This story teaches us that true power lies not only in physical strength, but in understanding the deepest fears and longings of one's opponent. It is a lesson repeated throughout history, in boardrooms and on battlefields alike. To defeat a strong entity, you must find a way to make it doubt itself. The echoes of those Chu songs are a timeless warning against arrogance, and a testament to the invisible yet unbreakable threads that bind an army, a company, or a nation together. The tale of Xiang Yu and Liu Bang is not merely a record of victory and defeat. It is a profound exploration of how perception shapes reality, and how a carefully crafted illusion can alter the course of history itself. Miàn Chu.